Hey everyone, it's Will, GamerDad, with another video for you. So I do apologize for not having this video done yesterday actually. I did not realize the banners were actually released right after the live stream yesterday, and so I believed that tonight would be the update, but in this case, we are on the same build as Japan anyways, and so in tonight's episode of Should You Summon, we will cover the various banners that feature our newest Ultra Unit Blooming Blade Akane. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. I also do have a Patreon account for those who want to support me this way. So, of course, many of you have already summoned if you're going to summon, and also if you weren't going to summon, you probably weren't going to summon anyways. That being said, as usual, these videos are mostly to share my thoughts about the various banners and, my opinions as well. Of course, it's only GamerDad's opinions, and so just take everything with a grain of salt, or in my case, heaps of salt, since you know how my free Whisper Times has been going. So first off, 2x Max Faithful Encounter, Earth Edition. Obviously, these are all Earth units that will augment, the Alter Akane. Many of those are the newest units. Some of them are a little bit older, and we'll just discuss the 10 units here. Alter Myunfa, AS Primaya, Alter Shannon, AS Nakoko, ES Claude Otoha, AS Violet Lantern, Black BCS, Daisy, and Tsubame AS, which is probably our oldest unit. So guaranteed one of these 10 units on the 10th pull. Pulls 1 to 9 can be anything. And again, if you hit any of the Stellar Awaken, it will not get all 3. It only gets 1. No pickup bonus on this banner at all. That also, I don't think, let's see if, hold on. Yes, this one does not have her in it. So this is actually only to augment your existing Earth teams. Quickly speaking, I mean, again, many of us had a lot of the units. If you're asking me to rank these 10 units or which ones are still very, very viable, I can give you a few, just a few pointers of the ones in no particular order. One of the top Earth supports out there currently would probably be Ultra Myunfa. The ability to give singular focus, buffs, debuffs, shielding, and other goodies, along with the fact that she can help set zone with a move, is very valuable and can free up Ultra Akane to do tons of damage. AS Nakoko is still a fan favorite. Most of us have Nakoko regular style as a free unit, so AS Nakoko, although a nice upgrade, is probably best done with your own treaty since there's no penalty to side grade older units from normal style to AS. AS is fully awakened, so to speak, because they don't have any awakening at the time. Alter Tuva is another nice one. Now, she has been power crept in terms of raw DPS, but her mod is still pretty decent. Of course, a lot of this depends on awakened zones, and as well, I'll cover a little bit later, a lot of the units nowadays do have qualifiers in their moves to do tons of damage either in awakened zone or other modifiers. And to be fair, at the time they were released, that is great because you can always maintain awakened zone. However, with the advent of some of the newer bosses out there, they break zone and reestablish with their own. That still allows you to do some damage. However, in many where you have to be specifically in that elemental zone, the value drops off a little bit. For example, case in point, Ultra Shannon, where she needs to be in awakened zone to do her max damage. Otherwise, it's just going to be a lot lower. Now, granted, units such as Ultra Tuva and Ultra Shannon can set zone. Ultra Shannon with a move, Ultra Tuva with a VC. But what's really unique about Ultra Tuva still is one of the things is she has the overthrow ability, which is unique to her. I don't think anyone else gives it. There is Elpis Gear that also gives it. However, I believe they are of a lesser power than Alter Tuvas. And what Overthrow does, of course, is it allows you to do extra boosted damage against enemies stronger than you, and all the enemies are going to be stronger than you at this point. And so the modifier is clearly a lot better with her, and she can still be used with the gear, so they get 2 sources of overthrow since they're coming from different sources. One from the unit, one from a gear. So you actually can do substantial amount of damage with her in tow. So a lot of people just kind of keep her in the back, VC her in when you're going to do a finisher or an outside AF DPS. Still very viable, although she's a lot older. Also, don't forget that normal styles and even ES Tuva can be side graded to Alter, so you don't have to necessarily pull on that. ES Cloud, again, is a really great support, good slash zone user. No DPS there, but a lot of healing and support functions, and a lot of offensive buffs. I believe 100% crit damage with one of the few units you can do that, okay? BCS, Iska's still not bad. Lots of shielding, quite defensive. Modifier for damage is really low at this point. Under, I think it's like 900. It's pretty low, but the defensive capability to alter Iska is still to be rivaled with. Daisy is another interesting one that has damaging VC, can do a lot of damage if she acts after you, and she is extremely slow for the most part. I don't think she's necessarily meta at this point or as good as before. And besides, you get punished for VCs nowadays because we really want to have our powerful team up front as opposed to having to VC in and out unless there's some unique niche strategy you have. AS Odaha, again, not bad. Same with AS Primaya, and finally, AS Tsubami. She was really good back in the day. I would say even now, not bad. It's just that it feels wrong to tell you to summon for a unit that's 1.5 years old. She still has the potential for an 1800 modifier as long as you alternate it with the other move she has, which is much lower outside in AF. And so overall, great selection of Earth units per se. If you're missing, I'll say, more than half, and of those half, missing, for example, the Ultra Shannons, specifically Ultra Miyumfa and Claude, as well as Tuva, then perhaps this is valuable as a summon. But I imagine many of us with the 10 free 10 pulls, you'll have some form, if not many of these forms, in which case side grading these older units is still very viable, as opposed to any Stellar Awaken units that you have to pull with the pickup bonus, otherwise they have lesser abilities. And so these are still older units, they can still be side graded, and so as a result, this banner, although good with a good selection, I wouldn't say this is the best value for your money. Now, the Faithful and the Regular are the same. So there's two different banners for Ultra Akane. This one is the standard Faithful 3 times. Pulls 1 to 9 will have 0.8. Pull 10 is 10% chance. All Stellar Awakening units are in here, although only the pickup bonus applies to Ultra Akane. Now, one thing in the future, hopefully as we get more and more units out there, they'll have a banner where it'll have a Stellar Awaken pickup bonus for multiple units at the same time. Not sure if WFS ever wants to go there, but I'm putting it out there that hopefully after, say, 6 months or a year, when some of these Stellar Awaken units are a little bit older, they'll give us a chance to pull on, say, a 1% banner times 5, and which any of those units are automatically Stellar Awaken 3 out of 3. That would be a quite nice gesture, being that we're going to be in star chart debt for a very long time unless you spend moderately or more. Anyways, keep on going down. All the units in the game are still here, including Bots, Rainbow Sisters, and Knights. You can see a plethora of those on my daily pulls. And of course, the regular version of this. So again, note the Faithfuls are only for 16 days. I don't know why. And then the regular version is for 30. So, yeah. Weird. And this one is 0.8 straight. Okay, so to be fair, that is pretty standard for this. There's no modified odds, unlike some of the AS and ES out there. Alters generally only have 0.8. If they're shared with another banner, you'll also see another 0.8 out there. In this case, I don't mind that it's like that. It just is. So, there's that. Okay, so what about Ultra Akane? Is she worth all that you want to spend on her? Now, first of all, VC in for Earth Zone. No one VCs in anymore, so as much as you can do that, I don't know if it's going to be as viable. Now, the interesting thing about her is she has a lot of play with Katana users as well as other Itto-Ryu units. The Itto-Ryu clan is only a few, right? Shigeri, Oboro, regular AS Akane, and Xion. And so they're all different elements. I mean, you got a couple of fires, a water, and a lightning, and a thunder. And I guess if you're talking about katana users, I mean, you can actually use other katana users with it. But in terms of earth synergy, not nearly too many that are actually viable in today's meta, that are powerful. I mean, who remembers Elga or Elga AS, nobody, right? Odaha actually is a katana user and does have a pretty nice ramp up bonus, but not sure. I haven't used her enough to really say whether or not she would be perfect. The fact that she ramps up for 3 moves and locked into those 3 moves, just like the old school Hismena, limits her potential, but the mods are there, and she doesn't really have too many qualifiers other than the fact that she's locked in for 3 moves. So if you average out the DPS, still quite viable for AS Odaha. So her and together would be with Akane would be interesting. You get start with the battle with 3 stacks of her courage or grit, her red stacks, or well, actually these aren't red, these are the regular orbs. And when you get 3 stacks, she unlocks all her massive DPS out there, all her buffs and debuffs. They're all magnified when you have 3 of these stacks activated. The downside or the catch is that Akane will remove all stacks at the end of turn and then restack them at the beginning of each turn, 1 for every katana or Itto-Ryu unit out there, and she counts as 1. I don't think she counts as 2. So if you have her and 2 others, then you can have all 3 stacks. That might be a little bit difficult for some synergies. However, against enemies with neutral, you can easily find a katana team or Itto-Ryu combination to do that. And so when you do have the 3 stacks, she does have a lot of non-AF high-level DPS, which also ignores target defense. She's also one of the newer units or few units that can give herself singular focus. And so, you know what singular focus is, right? That is the one where she does extra damage based on amount of MP max on her team. And so that is extremely powerful. Now, to be fair, not sure if you require the SA for that. However, I believe that is part of her kit. And so without her SA, I don't even know if you get singular focus. You can let me know in the comments below if that's true or not. But however, no one will know, right? Because we're not even side grading just yet. So if it's locked behind the SA board, that's going to be quite a big difference for her. If it's not locked and she still has the ability to do that, she is still quite good even without the SA. So something to keep in mind that obviously when we talk about these banners, we're talking about both the unit right out of the box, because if you hit it now, you automatically get full SA. However, in the future, when we do, as free-to-plays, have to side grade for this, it's what comes with the kit afterwards. And so I do see on the Stellar Awakened skills that obviously she has a super attack, which all SA units kind of have. And obviously she'll have a set SA gauge, which you won't have if you're not awakened. However, this singular focus, I'm not sure if that counts for part of her kit, because if it does, that really limits her ability, because obviously with that ability, her damage will scale through the roof. Now, in terms of the SA, not only does she can get the singular focus, she can also do massive damage, AoE, XXL, 3 stacks of elemental break. It also deploys Earth Zone and Reawaken Zone. Again, I don't know if that actually breaks zone, because if it doesn't break zone, then obviously it's going to be difficult against bosses who spam zones, and we see a lot of that now with today's super bosses out there. So be warned that many teams do need multiple zone breakers. I do think that that is something that they try to kind of put into the SA units, kind of make them more powerful or more desirable. However, that does suck that people without SA units are going to have a tough time fighting any bosses that reawaken their own zone, such that we can't override that ourselves. By the way, this move also does collide out everyone to Earth, which you also see as a big trend in many of the newer units out there. So the real question is, should you summon? Now, this is the problem, right? Again, I mentioned this yesterday. She does have significant damage potential. She does also have a debuffs, power, int, and speed debuff, what also stacking physical res on all party members. I believe the benefits when she has the 3 stacks is up to 70% up and down, which is actually very, very defensive if that's true. However, again, overall, she only boosts herself DPS wise for the most part. Even her own max MP boost and crit damage is to herself, up to 50-50 when she starts a turn start with 3 of those stacks. She is also one of the few units who can deploy Earth Zone with the move, the others being Ultra Miyunfa and Ultra Shannon. Her synergies with other katana users, especially Earth, is limited. Again, I guess you have BCS as well. But overall, she's basically going to be a solo unit. Now, it'll take her a couple turns to kind of get to 3 stacks. Because remember, it only removes all the stacks when she has 3 stacks. So every 3 turns, she's going to be maxed out. If you have 3 katana or Itto-Ryu, you're going to have every turn you can do massive amounts of damage. The one thing I don't like, most of her massive DPS is outside AF, although she has a very respectable 1600 mod, even without within the AF. So it's not that she's totally crap, it's just that she does rely on those 3 stacks, so every 3 turns is when she really shines. Otherwise you have to build a complete team around her, and so being that she's relatively limited and not really able to boost your whole team, I think she's a mid-range unit, at least at this point. I really do try to focus if there are DPS. They really should have a lot of buffs and debuffs that really help your team do a ton of damage instead of just her by herself. Case in point, for example, some of the more powerful units in 2023, I'll just give you one example, Alter Hismina. Alter Hismina without Stellar Awaken has the following. Water res down, heavy. Physical res down, heavy. Obviously can awaken zone. Also can attack twice. And all these other abilities as well, not to mention flexible, right? So when you're talking about offensive DPS, you want one who can apply physical res down, type res down, or a combination of the two, while if you can, even having units that can boost power into speed for your whole party as opposed to just yourself. Again, case in point, Sesta. Again, very situational, but we're looking at units that those are kind of units I always try to recommend people to summon for when they can really help the whole team. Like, even without Awakened Wind Zone, you press that Howling move for Sesta, still gets team-wide buffs, right? And if you got her, she also puts wind res down, physical res down, which helps your whole team, right? So these are the kind of units. Even like SA Suzette, which is of course my waifu, I'm a little bit partial to that. Look at what she does. She can give everyone preemptive for 3 turns. She can set zone. She can dual debuff 40-40, which is obviously lower than some of these other units out there. But the fact that she has all those is quite nice and can still help your team do a lot more, right? As opposed to, oh, I just give it to myself. So anyways, powerful unit. Not sure I would use the money or stones for her, given the fact that stones are harder to come by now. Content should slow down now that we're caught up to Japan, but the fact remains is that, remember, we already covered this in an earlier video about the SA system, being that you really have 0.8% only. Your average rate to hit a unit at a win is at least 50% more, because 4.5 or 0.4 is not available here. And even if you hit a 4.5, say, in other banners of the unit, it doesn't awaken them or give them any awakening gauge, right? So clearly, it's a win hard, lose hard kind of banner, which all of these newer banners are. So again, if you do plan to go for it, set your budget accordingly. You can either do a couple strategies. I'll buy until I get it, or I'll limit a few case stones and try for it and gamble. If I miss, I miss. My general opinions about this is, if you want the unit really badly, you might as well go all in for it. I don't really like this kind of I'll dabble here, I'll dabble there, because then now you get units where you kind of only kind of wanted, as well as units that you just really wanted and you didn't have the budget for those. So regardless of how you just feel about this unit, if you go for it, go for it. If you don't, you don't. Okay, so clearly Gamer Dad is not going to go for it. 10k stones technically isn't even enough to go for a good try for a 0.8. I would recommend 15k or more budget-wise for any 0.8 in order to increase your chances and to not be too disappointed. Okay, last banner we'll cover quickly here is the best of the best, I think. All these units are listed here. This does give you one of the 10 units. All of these are the newest units out there. Yakumo, Ify, and so on and so forth, as well as Obara, Sears, and stuff like that. Long story short, if you're looking for Ify specifically, I believe that she's going to have a dedicated banner coming up this week, because we're kind of celebrating the merge and also the anniversary of Global. And so, for those who haven't watched the live stream, make sure you check out the live stream. They do talk about dedicated banners for both Melissa, Ify. I don't even know if Eva has a dedicated one, but the paid one specifically does mention getting Ify automatically. So if you want Ify and Yakumo specifically, you are still better off spending money on this for 1 day left. This one, of course, guarantees you 1 of the 10. Actually 1 of the 12-ish, I guess, as opposed to the other one. Also, remember that Boral series only are 1 out of 3, so that devalues this banner by a little bit. Same thing. The Valettes of the world are in the banner, the other banner. This banner by itself is actually a very powerful banner. It has a lot of powerful units. It's just that right now it's a lot of competition for paid stones, and so this is as I said, if you're missing a ton of these units and you really want to gamble and try to get one of these units specifically through a Faithful, and you've missed on, say, some of the other Faithfuls out there, still not a bad choice. If you're broke on free stones, you can't summon the different Shade Forces, Thunder Forces, and Crystal Forces anyway, right? So if you're willing to pay some stones, not bad. The selection of units is quite good. All of them are actually still very, very viable, and also most of them, if not all of them, are extremely powerful. So nothing wrong with going for it if you have the funds. It's just whether or not you have the funds, right? So hopefully that gives you some ideas of what I think about this banner. Hopefully I'm not too negative with my views on the banner. It's just that, again, with the new system, love it or hate it, it is here to stay, right, everyone? And so as a result, you do have to budget accordingly, plan accordingly, and more importantly, temper and set your expectations accordingly. And so really, the power of money is going to unlock a lot more for everybody. However, the fact remains, money or not, you want the best bang for your buck, and hopefully this series continues to try to deliver that information to you, as opposed to just being like, no, 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 no. It's not all about no, 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 no. It's just that, well, does Alter Akane, for example, is a must-have? Is it a must-have where you're going to lose without her? And I can't say that's true. Is this banner something that's going to change the game for you? Well, it really depends how far along you are and whether or not you really, really need to follow that Yakumo strategy you've seen on YouTube or that Cesta strategy you've seen on YouTube. Hey, that quality of life might be worth the gamble for you, right? These are things that you have to consider and think about. I just don't want to be like, well, if it's paid, it's great. If it's SA, is great. If it's not SA, it's not. Like, it's not as simple as just yes and no. It's a lot of factors out there. And so, again, when I do recommend banners, I do try to recommend both with the budget in mind as a paid player, but more importantly, giving you my opinion as a free player looking at paid banners, because at the end of the day, I value money just as much as you do, and so I would want you to spend money where you should and not spend money where you don't have to. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.